present have low vision or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello there. This is Jane Kearns, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the current issues of the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Hope you all are getting ready for Christmas and enjoying the sun for today. And today, for me, is the 18th. And it's perfectly beautiful out, no snow, and I think it's quite warm out. Enough of the weather. Let's get down to the news. And I think I'm going to be reading from Friday, December the 12th. It seems maybe we could get something sooner. Yep, nope, that's the best one. Okay. So, Niagara Gazette says on the front page, Mayor's budget vetoes upheld or unheld. Council will not hold a special meeting to attempt overrides, by Rick Pfeiffer of the Gazette. Niagara Falls Mayor Robert Restiano has voted for 5 amendments adopted by the City Council to his proposed 2026 city budget. Council Chair James Perry, Democrat, says that a majority of the council has decided not to hold a special meeting to consider overriding the vetoes. We're not going to hold a special meeting. We don't have the votes to override the vetoes, so we're back where we were before the amendments were passed by the council. End quote. Perry said Thursday evening the amendments would lead to an unbalanced budget, end quote. Perry said the council member, David Zajac, Republican, did ask to schedule a meeting to consider a veto override, but the council chair said it makes no sense. In a series of vetoes sent to the council last Thursday afternoon, Restiano said the council had acted irresponsibly by cutting department head salaries and reducing funding in public safety and wrong page. Let's see. So funding, okay, that the council had acted irresponsibly by cutting department head salaries and reducing funding in public safety and economic development, end quote. He also said the council budget amendments would increase the tax levies for both residents and businesses. The math just doesn't add up, Restiano said. In fact, they were increasing taxes by 0.17%. Restiano did approve one budget amendment, and that was described as a housekeeping item intended to allow the city comptroller to make adjustments in budget lines affected by salary changes. Quote, "It's the hard work of the department heads, the city administrator, and the controller that have kept us under the state property tax cap and held property tax increases to less than the cost of inflation," end quote, the mayor said. The 2026 spending plan will take effect as of January the 1st. City lawmakers had debated 19 changes to the mayor's proposed budget for the new fiscal year. One proposed amendment was later withdrawn. Of the remaining 17 amendments considered by the council, 7 called for reductions in pay raises for city department heads. All of them were sponsored by Zajac, and all of them were rejected. The salary increases, which average about 2%, are directed to the city's district of purchasing, the city assessor, the corporate counsel, the director of human resources, and the director of public works, and the director of code enforcement. Council members did agree to amend the budget to modify the pay of the city's director of business development and the director of planning. That amendment was vetoed. Lawmakers also narrowly turned down an amendment to eliminate an unfilled position in the mayor's office. The position, senior executive assistant to the mayor, had previously been earmarked for a public information officer. That position, which carries a salary of $54,000, has been unfilled for more than a year. A proposal to cut the mayor's travel and training budget line failed on a tie vote. The council approved an amendment that increases its consultant budget line by $20,000, with Zajac, the amendment sponsor, arguing that the money all will enable lawmakers to retain outside legal counsel if necessary. Zajac pointed to an incident where the city lawyers told lawmakers that they could not provide them with legal advice because it would be contrary to a position taken by the mayor. Adding, quote, adding money will allow us, if the city corporation council has a conflict, to go out and retain our own counsel, Zajac said, end quote. That amendment was vetoed. Another one. Council members on a 3-2 vote slashed $300,000 from the corporation's council's consultant budget line. The money allocated to that line is usually used to pay private attorneys who work as special counsels for the city. Council member Donta Miles, Democrat, said he believes that more than half of the consultant budget has been directed to Buffalo-based firm Hudson Russ and lobbying firm Bolton St. John's. Both have been involved in work on the city's proposed Centennial Park project. The mayor's vetoes restored that funding. Members had battled over overtime allocations in the proposed budget. Miles advocated for significant hikes in the several overtime budgets in the Department of Public Works. By a vote of 3-2, an amendment increasing the budget for street construction and street repair overtime by $25,000 was approved. Perry said, and the council member, Tracy Bax, Republican, disapproved. The mayor's vetoes reversed that action. The council turned down an amendment from Miles that would have doubled the overtime budget for snow removal. It also rejected an amendment to add money to the overtime budget for the DPW maintenance garage. The largest proposal budget amendment failed on a tie vote, with one council member abstaining. Miles suggested cutting the police overtime budget of $1.8 million by $386,600,000 to address what he said was the abuse of a contractual practice that allows police commanders to receive 4 hours of overtime pay when they are called while off duty. Bax, whose husband is a police lieutenant, abstained from voting on the amendment. Perry and Zajac voted against it, while the member Brian Archie, Democrat, supported the amendment with Miles. The city budget totals $103,554,690 million and includes just over a 1% increase in property taxes. The spending plan is just under $2 million more than the 2025 budget. The mayor has said that the budget increase is largely driven by the rising cost of health benefits and state pension contributions for city employees. Personnel costs represent more than 60% of the city's spending. The budget increases homestead residential property taxes by 1.38% and non-homestead businesses property taxes by a little less than 1.1%. Those increases both fall below New York State's 2.2 percentage cap on yearly property tax increases. In the 6 years of the Restiano administration, homestead and non-homestead property taxes have averaged an annual 1% increase. The proposed 2026 homestead tax rate equates to 27 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation, or a $40.50 increase for the tax bill of a home assessed at $150,000. Seems like a deal. Okay, now we have a sticker that's blocking my words here. I think we'll take that off altogether. Fall Superintendent honored by Buffalo Bills. Mark Laurie is Team 2025 Inspire Change Changemaker. Mark Lowry is Team's 2025 Inspire Change Maker. That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, Sydney Ciano by the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills announced Mark Lowry as the Bills' 2025 Inspire Change Maker on Thursday, an annual recognition celebrating leaders who are driving significant, measurable change in their communities across the NFL's Inspire Change initiative. 4 pillars: education, economic advancement, police, community relations, and criminal justice reform. Lowry, a Niagara Falls City School District Superintendent, is a dedicated advocate for the American Heart Association. I'm shocked, and I'm so appreciative, Lowry said. We're so appreciative in Niagara Falls that the Bills Foundation reaches that far, and that you don't forget that we have love in Niagara Falls for you. We appreciate that you remembered Niagara Falls, end quote. David Rust, the 2024 Inspire Change Maker and executive director of the Say Yes Buffalo, works in partnership with Lowry, who extended the Say Yes Buffalo initiative to Niagara Falls, encouraging students to earn four-year and two-year something. Hang on. My hands aren't working right today. And that's bills. 4-year and 2-year degrees, certificates, or apprenticeships. My hope is that in honoring Mark's lifetime commitment to the education in Niagara Falls, the city, school district, and Say Yes Niagara Falls will receive similar exposure and support for the scholarship endowment in particular, Russ said. Niagara Falls is a crucial part of our region, and I'm deeply grateful for the wonderful recognition Mark is receiving after all he has given to his city, end quote. The NFL Foundation awarded Lowry $10,000, and he decided to donate all of it to Say Yes Niagara Falls. Russ said he hopes that Lowry's commitment to the program inspires others to invest in some way to their communities. In September 2024, Lowry partnered with the American Heart Association, providing more than 750 student athletes, parents, and family members and staff the opportunity to practice hands-on CPR through the Heartbeat event. Mark expressed to me that day that if one life could be saved by the experience, that he felt he had made a difference. Region Vice President Robin Byrne of American Heart Association said, "I could not agree more," end quote. Lowry collaborates with other academic leaders in New York to promote life-saving education programs, events, and resources. He serves on the Eastern States American Heart Association Board of Directors as well. Lowry, quote, provides invaluable insight to help us stay attuned to the evolving needs of the school communities and families and educators, end quote. The region Senior Vice President Abby Bartley of American Heart Association said, quote, his perspective strengthens our ability to deliver meaningful impact where it matters most, end quote. On December the 28th, Lowry will be recognized at the Bills' Inspire Change game against the Eagles. Coming up. This one is about North Tonawanda Mayor Austin Tylek speaks during the opening for the pier and kayak launch in Mayor's Park, July the 1st. That's a picture. On his own terms, NT Mayor Austin Tylek eyes continued returns on community support by Mark Scheer of Niagara Gazette, North Tonawanda. Austin Tylek had a lot to celebrate on election night. The Lumber City's mayor earned a second term in office at just 33 years old. Next year, he'll start working with a trio of fellow Democrats, Thomas K. Murphy, Gabrielle Richards, and William Schulmeister, Jr., who earned positions as city lawmakers in their respective races and who will represent the Common Council majority in 2026. Page 4. And let's see if I got it this time. In a recent interview with the Niagara Gazette, Tylek said he appreciates the community's endorsement of his efforts and those of the members of his administration. He said he also knows there's still a lot of work to be done, and he said he intends to approach his second term much the same way as he did his first, with hard work, a spirit of cooperation, and an understanding of the importance of putting the needs of residents and business owners above partisan politics. We have made an effort not to look at red and blue, especially when it comes to politics, he said. We help any business, organization, and residents, no matter what their affiliation and no matter who they voted for. We don't play politics with our decisions. That really carries into the idea of bringing everyone together. The first term, end quote. The first term financial focus. Tylek, excuse me, focused, I didn't bring my water in either. His work in politics by earning a large seat as a North Tonawanda Common Council member in 2017. 4 years later, at age 29, he became the youngest mayor ever elected in the city's history and one of the youngest people ever to hold public office in Western New York. During his interview with the Gazette, he said he placed much of his focus on the early part of his first term, where he felt it was most needed, and that straightening out things, the city's finances especially. When he became mayor, Tylek said he inherited a city budget that had only around $300,000 in its reserves. Over the past 4 years, Tylek said the city has managed to build those reserves to about $3 million. That's an extraordinary thing. That's my comment. Over the next 4 years, he said his administration has set a goal of boosting the city's reserve account to around $6 million, the level recommended by the New York State Comptroller's Office. I'm most proud of how we were able to fix the finances because it was a heavy lift, he said. Tylek credits sound spending decisions, efforts to increase revenue, and taking advantage of support from private sector supporters and state and federal grants with helping change the city's financial course. Quote, it's heading in the right direction, but it's a process, end quote, he said. I told people it's going to take years, but we've increased our credit score when it was about to decline, so that made our interest rates lower. That interest rate is a huge, huge piece, he said. It's important to make sure that our credit score is stable and getting better, because that interest rate can accumulate to hundreds of thousands of dollars each year that we are giving away, basically, end quote. Building a welcoming community is another one of his tenets. North Tonawanda, with Gateway Harbor and Webster Street, that's anchored by the historic Riviera Theater, has gained a reputation regionally as a fun place to visit. Tylek credits his predecessors, including former Mayor David Bergio, with helping to set the foundation for downtown's recent success, in part by supporting efforts to lure private sector investment using public resources available through the Lumber City Development Corp., a lending arm of the city government. During his first term, Tylek said his administration maintained a similar focus while also looking to build up from prior administration efforts. He said embracing efforts to save city funds by obtaining state and federal grants has been key to recent successes. He said another key part of the process was involved embracing collaboration, not just with local businesses owners, including members of the Downtown Merchants Association of North Tonawanda, but also officials from neighboring communities, especially those in charge of other Twin City Tonawanda. Last year, the Twin Cities brought back the annual New Year's Eve ball drop, an event that had been suspended in prior years. Other events, like the recent Winter Walk, which celebrated its 25th year this year, have allowed both communities to better showcase what they have to offer, Tylek said. For North Tonawanda, Tylek said such events have also helped improve the city's bottom line by helping to increase returns from sales tax, a key piece of revenue that Tylek says has grown steadily in recent years. Officials from both cities have also been able to draw more financial support for events from private donors and area businesses, with Tylek noting that the cost for the fireworks for the New Year's Eve event is now offset with private funds, reducing the public expense. Good job. I said that. It's a quote, it's a collaborative effort where the city chips in, the businesses chip in, and everyone benefits from it without breaking the bank, end quote. He said, Excuse me, I'm sorry. Oh, now I've lost my spot. Tyler said having strong relationships with the corporate donors, such as David Chevrolet and members of the Merchants Association, has been key to recent successes both cities have enjoyed. There's a very positive piece of that, he said. Who wouldn't want to bring their community together? It's an economic driver, too. The more hands on deck, the more people involved. Under good leadership, the more our economy continues to grow. And City Market shines. Chris Delaprince, who has managed the North Tonawanda City Market under Tyleck's administration, said he believes the market's success in recent years has done a lot to raise the city's local and even national profile. In 2023, the market was named the best market in America by American Farmland Trust, Farmers Market Coalition. It was an honor. Both Delaprince and Tyleck said the city, including residents, local and leaders, and market vendors, worked hard to secure. Delaprince said Tyleck made it clear to him that the market had a priority for his administration when he gave him the manager's job, and that the commitment was remained for the city's betterment. He said this was a gem and the heartbeat of the city, Delaprince said, of Tyleck's support for the city market. That market has created such camaraderie in this North Tonawanda. That market is a big piece of pulling the businesses together, and now it's become like a family. That's what I've seen with this mayor. Like putting on successful city events, Tyleck has said growing city market and establishing it was one of the best in the country, has involved a lot of cooperation and help, both private and public. He noted that the market's bathrooms were painted this year free of charge to the city's thanks to corporate sponsorship by David Chevrolet. Private support also made possible the painting of a mural and the creation of Veterans Wall at the market site. Tyleck described the city market as a huge gem for North Tonawanda, that it must continue to be properly cultivated and managed so it can continue to thrive for years to come. You need a nucleus that powers the rest of the city, Tyleck said. The market, that's in the center of the city, so that's part of your focus. The road ahead, as he sees it. As he looks forward to the start of his second term as mayor, Tyleck said he's looking forward to building on what he views as one of the city's biggest issues, repairing roads, sidewalks, and other pieces of infrastructure. He said the city is also interested in finding ways to improve the infrastructure and spur development along another one of its main strips, Oliver Street. Our biggest challenges are still catching up on aging infrastructure and park maintenance and overall maintenance in the city as a whole, Tyleck said. He also said that there would be focus in the coming years on what is widely recognized as the Center City, the area of North Tonawanda that includes Payne Avenue. That neighborhood will soon see the benefits of a major reconstruction project at Payne Park, where a memorial pool built in 1947 will be replaced by a modern outdoor family aquatic center. The $8 million project, which will be covered in part by grant funds, is slated to begin next year. Also on deck for the city will be following through on a main component of the master plan, redevelopment of Tonawanda Island. Tyleck said the project, which he said will involve an estimated $500 million in private and public sector investment, is intended to make the island a more inviting place for people to live, which by extension would help better support the city and local business community. Tyleck noted that the city officials recently agreed to accept an agreement with a private developer for the redevelopment of 4 acres on the island, a project he described as a $30 million catalyst that will involve mixed-use projects aimed at improving people's access to the waterfront. Tyleck said that one of the biggest challenges on the island involves having land available to develop, noting that 22 acres of the island are currently privately held, including 15 acres which are owned by Smith Boys Marine alone. We project that up to 1,000 people could live there, Tyleck said of the Tonawanda Island project. We could have 100 different types of businesses there, public amenities, and a boardwalk, you name it. The challenge with that, though, is the city itself doesn't own a lot of the land there, end quote. Key in whatever the city does moving forward is sound planning and management, according to Tyleck. While he said he knows it's hard for residents to remain patient, it's also important for them to recognize that in government, it often takes years to get things accomplished, even when it's the right public and private sector partners are working together to make them a reality. In the public sector, you come to realize every major project takes at least 3 years. I always say, because the start of just an idea of a project to then getting the buy-in and getting the votes and beginning the funding and designing and constructing takes years, he said. There's a lot of red tape and a lot of hoops. It might take longer, but it's a benefit in the end. Amen. That I put it. Okay, so let's see. That's it about mayor. Okay, now this is the next one. This is the planning board deals setback to NFR's data center plans. The members find digital campus zoning application incomplete. This is again by Rick Pfeiffer. Niagara Falls Planning Board has for now rejected a revised application from Niagara Falls Redevelopment, NFR, and a pair of affiliated companies seeking to establish a negotiated plan development district, also known as a planned unit district, or PUD, for the purpose of building a proposed $1.5 billion data center campus in the city's South End. Oh, no. A sneeze is coming, I think, but it didn't happen. The new application had replaced the previous submission, first proposed October 2024, and then formally submitted to the city in May. That application is deemed withdrawn in September when NFR sought to make revisions to it. The city's outside special counsel on the PUD petition determined revising an application was not permitted under the city's zoning code and would require restarting the process of reviewing and taking action on the petition. The process of acting on an original PUD application had been nearly completed when NFR asked to make what it described as minor revisions to its proposal. The South End landowner said the revisions were being submitted in response to requests from planning board members made during a workshop review of NFR's data center development plans. At its Wednesday night meeting, the planning board deemed that NFR's new PUD application was incomplete and it could not be considered without additional information. The specific additional information being sought is contained in a report to the board members from the city's Department of Planning and staff. The Gazette has requested a copy of that report and has been told it will be publicly available in a few days. An NFR attorney present at the planning board meeting offered no comment on the board action. A spokesman for NFR could not be immediately reached for comment. The original proposed PUD called for rezoning a swath of roughly 53 acres of prime South End tourist district land to allow for construction of the data center at Niagara Digital Campus project. The more than 500-page submission laid out NFR's argument for changing the South End zoning map to permit industrial uses, as in an area currently zoned for residential, commercial, and other non-industrial uses. We'll get on to the center in just a second. The creation of a PUD on that land, which is not all currently owned by NFR, would allow for what the South End landowners attorney call a blending of different zoning designations within the unit. NFR has said that its proposed digital campus would be developed in 5 phases. It would include 8 two-story buildings and 1-story and a 1-story building, for a total of 1,232,750 square feet of space. The PUD would be bounded by John B. Daly Boulevard, Falls Street, 15th Street, and Buffalo Avenue. The proposed location of the first stage of the PUD is the same 12 to 15 acres of land that the city has proposed to use for its Centennial Park project. The city maintains that it never legally transferred to NFR roughly 5 acres of former parkland there, and has been awarded the remaining property in an eminent domain proceeding. In a letter from NFR attorney Melissa Val, Attached to the revised PUD application, Val writes that the new, quote, petition adds 19 new tax parcels and approximately 2 acres to the PUD, end quote. Val wrote that the additional property directly abuts Fall Street and was excluded from the PUD petition submitted in May because petitioners intended to develop that land in accordance with current downtown zoning district. Val said that in response to questions raised by the city planning board members at an early September morning workshop on the PUD application, the additional parcels were added to the new application to reflect NFR's intention to include mixed downtown uses along with previously included data center and utility substation uses in its project. Petitioners have also supplemented the PUD with additional visual renderings and elevations, both of the mixed-use downtown uses and the data center use, and other helpful information for the city's consideration, Valley said. Valley had asked that the city not require a new round of actions and hearing by both City Council and Planning Board to move the revised PUD application forward. But Fall Special Counsel Daniel Spitzer told Val there's no legal capacity to grant your request. The Planning Board action triggers a 30-day window for NFR to submit a completed new PUD application, or else it will need to offer a third version of its proposal. Another NFR affiliate request for a text amendment to change the Falls High Energy Use Zoning Code statute tied to the proposed data center project has been rejected by both the city and Niagara County planning boards. That law, which was enacted in 2022, placed tough noise and other restrictions on the operation of high energy use in industrial facilities. Good job. You need to pay attention. Once it's done, and it's with you forever. Okay. Now, we're on page 2. This is good news. It says here, church provides 36,000 pounds of food to Niagara pantries. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints donated benefits 5 pantries. This is by Heidi Truscott Light, Lockport Journal. As a self-identified Newfane School lunch lady for 30 years, Linda Peace is used to dealing with large volume of food, but when she was stunned by the quantity provided by the Newfane First Baptist Church pantry by the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, LDS, on Wednesday. As she read off the delivery list, she mentioned that the numbers were for entire cases of non-perishable foods: 16 tomatoes, 19 northern beans, 14 spaghetti, 26 cases of 2-pound bags of rice, and the list went on. The 5 pantries in all received the contents of a tractor trailer, included Heart, Love, and Soul in Niagara Falls, Care and Share Food Pantry in Ransomville, the Wilson Community Food Pantry, and St. Brendan's on the lake in Newfane, and Newfane First Baptist. Like manna from heaven, the food donation arranged by Brad Simpson, stake president for the LSD Church in Buffalo, Niagara region, arrived when Peace said the First Baptist Pantry had seen a 20% increase in demand. That's a whole gamut of people, Peace said of the food recipients. We have many elderly people who can't make ends meet on Social Security. We have the youngers and have the middles with kids, and they can come twice a month and get 3-day supply to help them out. Peace said that she was happy to see 24 cases of peanut butter in 16-ounce containers and 18 cases of dried pinto beans. Totally wonderful, she said. The peanut butter will last me a while, and we have migrants that come to this pantry also, and they like dried beans. Simpson said that the LDS Church manufactures its own canned and dry foods through Desert Industries, a non-profit division. Simpson said the church allots truckloads of surplus food to each region, and Simpson requests the 36,000 pounds of food that was donated today. A Wilson resident, Simpson decided to channel the food to northern Niagara County. I think a lot of the smaller pantries up here don't get the same amount of attention as they do the larger ones in Buffalo, end quote, he said. Simpson said that because the church trucks provide surplus items, he didn't know what foods they would receive from until nearly a week ago. That's when he realized he needed to find a loading dock and sorting facility. Brendan Monaco at Goodman Farms offered to take care of those logistics, Simpson said. He was a godsend, Simpson said. He received the truck on Monday and had to unload 18 pallets of food. He set up warehouse space so that the pallets could be picked for orders. To be honest, I've never unloaded a truck like this before, and it was mind-boggling how much there was. The pantries provided Simpson with grocery lists and helping hands from Goodman Farms. LDS missionaries and high school students helped fill the orders for each location. Simpson said Goodman Farms also loaned a box truck to deliver food, with Wilson girls and boys basketball teams helping unload. Lori Simon, operations manager of Care and Share Food Pantry in Ransomville, said the pantry could accept larger quantities of food at their locations in the former W.H. Stevenson Elementary School. She said the donation came as a surprise. For us, it's a big win, said Simon. I had no idea that any of this was going to come from the church. We are extremely lucky that we could take the food. It certainly fills a lot of holes for us. It's a couple of months' worth, at least. Simon said that they received pasta, soup, dry milk, and other items. Those are things that will last a long time, and we can keep them for a year. The pantry representative said that they received meat, eggs, and other perishable foods from Feedmore, New York. Well, that's a nice move to help a lot of people out for Christmas, or just in general. The next one on this page, still on page 2, the average long-term mortgage rate ticks up to 6.22%, but remains close to its low for the year. The average rate on a 30-year U.S. mortgage edged higher this week, though it remains relatively near its low point so far this year. The uptick brings the average long-term mortgage rate to 6.22% from 6.19% last week. The mortgage buyer Freddie Mac said Thursday. A year ago, the rate averaged 6.6%. Borrowing costs on a 15-year fixed-rate mortgage, popular with homeowners refinancing their home loans, also rose this week. The rate average was 5.54%, up from 5.44% last week. A year ago, it averaged 5.84%, Freddie Mac said. Mortgage rates are influenced by several factors, from Federal Reserve's interest rate policy decisions to bond market investors' expectations for the economy and inflation. They generally follow the trajectory of the 10-year Treasury yield, which lenders use as a guide for pricing home loans. The 10-year yield was at 4.12% at midday Thursday, slightly higher than it was a week ago. The rise in mortgage rates comes a day after the Federal Reserve cut its main interest rate for the third time this year and indicated another one might well be ahead in 2026. The Fed doesn't set mortgage rates, so even when it cuts its short-term rates, that doesn't necessarily mean the rates on home loans will be necessarily decline. That's what happened last week after the central bank cut its main rate for the first time in more than 4 years. Instead of falling, the mortgage rates marched higher, even eventually cresting above 7% in January this year. At that time, the 10-year Treasury yield was climbing towards 5%. And that's the end of that. This is local news now. A Buffalo man accused of killing a girlfriend and newborn son dies in jail. Kadane Hiley found unresponsive on Wednesday in Erie County Correctional Facilities by Murray Ansunsau, New York Daily News. A Buffalo man accused of killing his girlfriend and their newborn son before setting their home on fire was found dead at a jail in Alden while in pretrial custody, officials said Thursday. Cadane Heil, 30, was found unresponsive Monday in the showers of a dormitory at the Erie County Correction Facility, and the Erie County District Attorney's Office said that in a statement to ABC affiliate WKBW. Despite life-saving efforts by correctional staff, he was pronounced dead at 9:34 p.m., the Erie County Sheriff's Office said, adding that his death is being investigated as an apparent suicide. He was accused of intentionally causing the death of his girlfriend, 29-year-old Kathleen Katie Carrig, C-A-R-R-I-G, Carrig, and their 4-day-old son, I've lost my place here. He did this killing at their Buffalo apartment in the morning of October the 18th, Erie County District Attorney Michael J. Keene said in a press release. Shortly after 8:30 a.m., the Buffalo Fire Department responded to a blaze in the first-floor apartment of a multifamily resident on the 400 block of Norwood Avenue, where they found a woman and her newborn son. The victims, later identified as Carrig and the couple's newborn Noah, were pronounced dead at the scene. Hiley was taken to a hospital where he remained for several days to be treated for smoke inhalation. The Erie County Medical Examiner later determined that Carrig died as a result of homicide by asphyxia due to strangulation. The boy died by asphyxiation and or thermal injuries, according to the court records obtained by WKBW. Hiley, who investigators said used gasoline as an accelerant to start a fire in the bedroom, was indicted on October the 30th on murder and arson charges and was being held without bail. His death was confirmed Thursday by his defense attorney, Dan Dubois, who said his client was a loving son, brother, and uncle who likely had a severe undiagnosed mental health condition, end quote, that may have contributed to the accusations that led to his arrest. This tragedy underscores the critical importance of mental health awareness and support, as mental health challenges can affect anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances, said Dubois. Hiley was scheduled to return to court on January the 21st according to the online court records. The district attorney's office said it would file a motion to dismiss that indictment once it receives Hiley's death certificate. Also on this third page, Youngstown getting into Christmas spirit on Saturday. Christmas in the Village events taking place at Village Center by Robert Creenan at the Niagara Gazette. Youngstown's Village Center will be the center of holiday activity on Saturday as a whole village gets into the Christmas spirit. The family-friendly Christmas in the village will take over the building with various festive activities happening from 4 to 8 p.m. The gym will feature a tree display, vendor market, popcorn from the Youngstown Lions Club. The Corn Gushy room will feature a bouquet making class from the Youngstown Garden Club at 4 p.m., which is an RSVP only. The Village Board room will hold cookie decorating and craft making from 5 to 7. Santa will be arriving with the Youngstown Police at 5 p.m. with the Incipio singers singing Christmas carols around the building. There will be food truck in the parking lot from 4 to 8. Horse and buggy rides around the village will also depart from the Village Hall from 6 to 8. The Christmas tree outside the Village Center will be lit up at 7:30. During the day, the Youngstown Garden Club will also open its free community tours of the decorated stone jug, which will take place from 1 to 7 p.m. The rooms, hallways, and dining areas of the main floor will each be decorated with different winter theme, and the restaurant still open for business. The Stone Jug tours go on through December the 24th, with visitors able to tour the rooms on their own on the final day. The old Fort Niagara is also hosting Castle by Candlelight from 6:30 to 8:30 Saturday, when guests can tour the French castle as it was lit by candles. That should be really neat. Last one on this page is, this is kind of nice. In loving memory, it says, and there's a picture of kids holding a big check. 2 young boys from Lewiston recently raised $600 for Niagara Hospice in memory of their grandmother. Matthew and Andrew Bogovich went from door to door asking neighbors if they need their leaves raked, and ended up taking care of about 10 yards. Several generous neighbors also made additional donations to support the hospice. Pictured are the boys, along with, from the left, Janet Ligamari, RN, Director of Nursing Services, Allison Bolt, Special Events Coordinator, and Carlo Figuromini, President and CEO. Continued. It says continue, but it doesn't say where. So let me see if I can find it. So hang on. Something. No budget? No, that's all done. It says continue, but I'm very sorry, I am not finding it. So I think we'll have to move on to the next thing. Well, so that didn't really come at a good, it said contributed, I misread it, sorry. Okay, that's what Christmas is all about. One of the most beloved animated holiday TV specials, Charlie Brown Christmas, made its debut on CBS TV on December the 9th, 1965, 60 years ago. But as much as we love the special, it almost didn't make it into the air, and even when it did, the initial reaction was that it wouldn't be shown again. I never thought it was such a bad little tree. In 1963, television producer Lee Mendelson produced a documentary on Willie Mays that was shown on NBC. A few weeks later, he was reading the comics page of his newspaper and saw Charlie Brown was losing yet another baseball game. Peanuts creator Charles Schultz's book, Happiness is a Warm Puppy, was #1 on the national bestseller list, and an idea for another documentary popped up into Mendelssohn's head. Mendelsohn was delighted but not surprised to learn that Schultz was a baseball fan and had seen the Willie Mays documentary. They ended up collaborating on a documentary about Schultz's work that features a few minutes of his characters animated by Bill Melendez and original music by jazz musician Vince Guaraldi. Once Mendelsohn finished work on the documentary, however, he couldn't find a buyer. All TV networks turned him down. The project was dead until April 1965, when Time magazine ran a cover story about Peanuts. Shortly afterwards, an advertising executive called to compliment the documentary and asked if they had considered making a Christmas TV special. The caller client, Coca-Cola, was interested, but by the time the necessary arrangements had been made, Mendelssohn, Melendez, Schultz, and Giraldi had only 6 months to have a special ready to broadcast. Schultz wrote a script and drew model sheets for his characters. Melendez storyboarded the show. They were paid only $76,000 to produce the 30-minute show, which would require about 10,000 animation drawings. Wow. There were things that Schultz insisted on putting in on the special. He was originally from Minnesota, so he wanted scenes of characters ice skating in the snow. He wanted a Christmas school play. He wanted there to be a moment where the true meaning of Christmas was explained. To Schultz, that would be the story of the Nativity from the Bible. Mendelssohn worried about how this might go over with CBS and the sponsor. "We can't avoid it. We have to get the passage of St. Luke in there somehow," Schultz said. "If we don't do it, who will?" The show was finished a week before broadcast date, Mendelsohn would write later. The exhausted staff watched the entire program for the first time. We all felt an uneasiness after the screening. We thought that perhaps we had somehow missed the boat. When I flew to New York to be present at the show, to show the top 2 executives at CBS, I was very apprehensive, he said. They watched the show, the lights came up. Well, this is a quote, "You gave it a good shot," said one, Mendelsohn wrote. "It seems a little flat, a little slow," and the other, "I was crushed." "Well," said the first, "we will, of course, air it next week, but I'm afraid we won't be ordering any more. We're sorry. Believe me, we're big Peanuts fans, but that's better suited to the comic page." Buffalo Charlie Brown Christmas was broadcast at 7:30 Eastern Time on Thursday, December the 9th, preempting the Munsters. Nielsen reported that 15.5 million households tuned in, making the special the second most watched TV show of the week. Critics raved over the show that spring, and special won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Children's Program and a Peabody Award. Yay for Charles Schultz and crew. That's pretty impressive. You don't know sarcasm when you hear it. It's a question mark. Don't you know sarcasm when you hear it? The voice of Charlie Brown was provided by 8-year-old Peter Robbins, who had appeared in episodes of Rawhide, Donna Reed's show, The Munsters. He played Charlie Brown in 5 more Peanut specials and in the film A Boy Named Charlie Brown, and would also appear in F Troop and Get Smart. With the exception of Robbins and Christopher Shea, who played Lioness, the rest of the child voices were supplied by children Mendelsohn recruited from his neighborhood. The girl who played Sally couldn't yet read, so her lines had to be fed to her sentence by sentence. None of the children received on-screen credit for their work on the special. Charlie Brown Christmas has been credited for helping bring end to aluminum Christmas trees. About 150,000 aluminum trees of various colors and sizes had been sold in 1964. The special showed the metal trees in a negative light as an example of over-commercialization of the holiday. By 1969, aluminum trees were pretty much extinct. Schultz was disappointed in the animation in the special. In particular, poor little Christmas tree Charlie Brown buys for the stage production seems to gain more branches as the evening goes on. That's not including the big reveal when the decorated tree is totally full. Schultz blamed the continuity error on 2 animators who weren't communicating. The original television version of Charlie Brown's Christmas contained a reference to the sponsor, Coca-Cola, once during the ice skating scene at the beginning when Linus crashes into a billboard, and once at the end during the closing carol. Over time, those visuals were cut out and other cuts were made to time for more commercials. I'm sorry they took that out. I think that's pretty cool. CBS executives were disappointed with the completed special, but it was too late to cancel the show. When the ratings came in for the night, showing 50% of the households with TV sets had watched A Charlie Brown Christmas, CBS immediately signed on for more like it. CBS would show 34 Peanut specials through 1991. That's pretty cool. I think I have time for one more thing. Okay. This is an editor's note. State Assembly Paul Bologna, Republican Clarence, wrote and sent the following letter to New York Kathy Hochul. Voiding gas connection rule punishes Western New Yorkers. December the 9th, 2025. Dear Governor Hochul, I write today to strongly urge you to veto the bill eliminating the 100-foot natural gas connection rule. At a moment when you have repeatedly stated that housing affordability and energy affordability are 2 of your top priorities, I want to commend you for recognizing how central these issues are to well-being of working families. But signing this legislation would directly and unequivocally undermine the very goals you set for your administration. It would make home building more expensive, energy less affordable, and economic opportunity out of reach for families across the state. You have also emphasized that New York is pursuing an all-of-the-above energy strategy. Yet this bill sends the opposite message, making natural gas hookups cost prohibitive, while the state simultaneously subsidize wind and solar at extraordinary levels leaves residents and ratepayers questioning what all of the above actually means. In Western New York, where the vast majority of individuals and families live in single-family homes, the contradiction is especially glaring. When the state penalizes access to reliable, affordable natural gas, it's not an all-of-the-above approach. This is a policy that picks winners and losers and leaves everyday New Yorkers stuck with the bill. Ultimately, New Yorkers deserve three things: reliable power, affordable housing, and the right to choose what works best for their families and businesses. What they do not deserve are top-down experiments that make energy less reliable, less affordable, and less secure. And when it comes to housing and addressing affordability, it always comes down to one unavoidable reality. To lower prices, we must increase supply. That requires a regulatory environment that enables, not discourages, residential construction. Eliminating the 100-foot rule moves us in the wrong direction and drives costs even higher. We should be investing, I beg your pardon. We should be investing in traditional energy sources while responsibly expanding renewables at a pace the market and the grid can sustain. That's how we hedge against volatility, stabilize prices, and modernize our energy system in a way that actually works. But the idea that we can restrict access to natural gas and somehow improve affordability, reliability, and environmental outcomes all at once is not just unrealistic, it's reckless. The New Yorkers did not ask for an electrification experiment, and they should not be forced to bankroll it. Until Albany acknowledges that our strained transmission grid is the real problem, not natural gas, all families will continue to face higher bills and weaker power. Energy choice is common sense, and maintaining that choice requires keeping natural gas accessible, especially in communities where it means essential for heat, cooking, and grid stability. Governor, you are from Western New York. You represented much of what is now my district in Congress. You know firsthand that in rural areas, especially across Niagara and Erie counties, access to natural gas is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. This legislation would punish families simply for living where they live. Of all leaders, you understand the energy realities of our region and the importance of reliable heat in a place where winters are long, cold, and unforgiving. For these reasons, I respectfully urge you to veto this bill. In doing so, you send a clear message to Western New Yorkers that you have not forgotten where you come from and that your commitment to affordability, reliability, and practicality still stands. It says, New York State Assembly member Paul Bologna represents the 144th district. What do astrologers look into? Regarding ologists, a couple of this is by Tom Valley, from the Valley, it says. A couple of decades ago, the only ologist I was personally involved with was a mixologist. And that, to be honest, is a term too highfalutin for the way I rolled back then. Barkeep and beer tending were more in the line of saloons and gin mills, and I spent more time in and around than I should have. You can read stories about what my latest writings, Take Me Drunk, I'm Home Again, which will be available in graffiti form on the ceilings and walls of public restrooms and dive bars across this great country of ours soon. Don't fail to miss it. Let's move on. Over the last several years, my personal list of ologists has grown exponentially. I've now used, to name a few, anesthesiologists, proctologists, cardiologists, neurologists, and dermatologists. Lest I forget acknowledging those licking their chops and waiting for the wings, half dozen psychologists, too, with books of their own to follow, if and when they get the rights to my stories. And what can I say? Obviously, I'll not be upset seeing the 2025 hit the bricks and move on, having gotten the shingles virus, the onset of summer, and I had 2 months of my relatively comfortable lifestyle, a lifestyle I'd taken for granted, taken away. The seriousness of it was an epiphany. Until then, tunnel-visioned, I sped through life without yielding to the troubles that may lurk along the way. Shingles alone brought on a wider field of specialists I now use, and if I may, I strongly advise that you get your shingle shots. Okay, that's the last time I'll mention it, but don't say I didn't warn you. Regardless of what that worm in his head, Google it, Health Robert Kennedy tells you to do. Where was I?
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.